quite frankly, the answer is fuck yes. Absolutely yes. I think you would do that. But I want him to ask that question, and I want her to turn around and go, yeah, actually, I do. You kind of have a record for this sort of thing. You know? It's just, this is what you do. This is like the most Trump thing you do. You do it all the time. This is, you love doing it.
All sorts of things about the election,
And
which
they
I
told you it
believe it
wasn't.
100%.
They told you it
No, I
wasn't.
have all the facts. Look, I have all the facts. In one way, I look for it.
What happens if I want to change my gender when I'm pregnant? Where are you fucking cretins coming from? Like, actually, where? I don't know, bitch. Take it up with your fucking doctor, dumbass. It's like, why are you coming to me? Am I your fucking doctor? Am I your gynecologist? Do I look like I'm an OBGYN? The only pussy I'm familiar with is your mom's, chatter. Okay? Calm down.
Trial, because it was so dishonest, okay, so rigged, and such a dangerous thing for our country. We have to have borders, and we have to have fair elections. We have neither.
But I want to talk about the border. I want to talk about the border, but we have to
when
get
I
through
spoke in
this.
front of Brad Raffensperger, who again last week said I didn't do anything wrong.
Well, it
Brad
sounded like you were
Raffensperger
asking for him to
said
come
it was
up
a
with
negotiation.
11,000 votes.
No. 11,780 votes. One more than we have right now. I know it by heart because it was the perfect phone call. Okay? No. Not 11,000. 11,780.
And you know that. You're terrible when you say this. You're off to a bad start. Because what I said was very simple. I got cheated in this election.
He told you
and
didn't.
all I need is like 11,000, whatever the number was.
Brad
I got cheated
Raffensperger,
in
who's
the
a
election.
Republican, said you didn't get cheated.
Well, he said that, but
He said he got cheated. All I need is 11,000 whatever. Bitch, you know how many votes you needed. You said it specifically. Don't try to fucking act like you don't remember. Very specific number of votes. Don't try to fucking act like, oh, my memory is hazy on this. You know what you fucking did. Come on now. It's like if I was literally telling you that at the top of the hour there isn't a 3-minute ad break or however many minutes it takes. I don't know. I don't remember. It's like, no, I know. I know exactly how many minutes of ads I'm going to serve you. It's 3. Now, if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you could do for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime. You can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's a 3-minute ad break now.
we have to go and see. You know, there's some court cases out there. We want to go into Fulton County and we want to see the real votes. And it's so hard.
He said they looked into it. The election had been certified 3 times.
I don't want them. I want to look
Flucky, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. B. Bonjuk, thank you for the 20 gifted subs.
into it. I would say
President,
that
the
if we got
election had been
access to the votes, which we're close to getting in court, as you know, if we got access to those votes, if we look in, you will find numbers that you wouldn't believe. More importantly, though, let me just say this.
I want to get through this, Mr. President.
Kristen, you
so
have to
we
just
can
hear me
get
out for
to
1
the
second.
Foreign policy section.
We had, because you say something and then you want to go into the next subject. We had many people in the line. When I said, I spoke for an hour, I knew that many people were in the line. I knew that it was I happen to be a really smart person. Who is going to be talking badly when I have lawyers and many other people on the line? Nobody's going to say something bad. But if it was bad, why didn't they say, sir, that was very inappropriate of you to say? Nobody said that. Nobody said, sir. It was only a long time after the call that somebody said, oh, maybe he said something wrong.
They said,
this
sir,
is a
there's
hoax.
no evidence.
This is a hoax,
that it's
just
been
like
rigged.
Russia, just like Ukraine. There's a hoax. Let me tell you, I spoke to them on the phone, and it was left, I think, something to the effect, okay, we'll get together tomorrow. Nobody said, sir, you shouldn't speak. If I said something incorrect, one of the lawyers for the state of Georgia, which I love, one of those lawyers would have said, sir, you'll have to take that back. That's an inappropriate
The
statement.
Republican Secretary
Nobody
of State said there.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm willing to bet. First of all, some of these people that were on this call are like either one, your co-defendants, or two, literally state witnesses. So I wouldn't be fucking popping off like this if I were you. In this otherwise televised debate, we're going to find out a lot about the situation, okay? So that's kind of cool that he's giving that to me. I like that, personally. Okay, I personally appreciate that. Is he not cooked? I mean, him being actually cooked and him being him facing any like serious scrutiny are two entirely separate realities, okay? Do I know? Do I feel as though Trump will? I'm not certain that Trump is going to get serious legal repercussions from this, like actually go to jail. That doesn't mean that he's not like actually dead to rights. You know what I mean?
Evidence to fraud. He said he'd looked into it. The election had been certified 3 times when you made that call.
Talking about a different subject. If I said something wrong on the call, he or one of his many lawyers that were on the call would have said, it's inappropriate what you just said. Nobody said that. We had a normal phone call.
They said there's no evidence of fraud.
He also said, I did nothing wrong last week.
Do you have any regrets about that call?
No.
Whatsoever?
None whatsoever.
Okay.
I called to complain about an election.
Okay.
And I have every right to do that. Would you say, do you think I have a right to complain about an election?
You have a right to take your case to court, which you did 60 times?
No.
Okay, we're back. We're back in it. She was pissing me off originally with her fucking lack of defenses for the abortion shit, but like, God, these people are such demons, dude. I take it back. The media is so fucking awful. She had no smoke for actually important things. And she has so much smoke for this, like, otherwise, media fancy story. Hasan, why are you being a misogynist? Because I hate women, dude. I hate women. That's why I love abortions, because I want women to be able to, murder female fetuses. That's why. I'm literally a fan of abortions, because I hate women that much. Okay? Because, carrying a pregnancy to term, even if you don't want to, is the most beautiful thing that could ever happen to a woman, and I want to rob women of that joy, okay? That's why. I want to rob women of the joy of childbirth. That's why I'm pro-abortion. Finally, it comes out. I said it.
I didn't do 60 times. They wouldn't hear it based on all sorts of crazy, they wouldn't hear. We never got a trial. Judges would look at stuff and say, I'm not getting involved. They didn't want to get involved.
Let's keep moving so we get through.
If you take a look at the evidence, we have so much evidence. If you take a look at the evidence, even you I could convince.
You were going to hold that press conference, but you never did with the evidence.
No, because I'm using it in my court case instead.
Okay. I want to ask you about the case related to Mar-a-Lago. A new charge suggests you asked a staffer to delete security camera footage so it wouldn't get into the hands of investigators. Did you do that? It's false.
But let me tell you what.
Would you testify to that under oath?
I'll testify.
You testify to that under oath?
It's a fake charge by this deranged lunatic prosecutor who lost in the Supreme Court 9-0, and he tried to destroy lots of lives. He's a lunatic. So it's a fake charge. But more importantly, the tapes weren't deleted. In other words, there was nothing done to them. And they were my tapes. I could have fought them. I didn't even have to give them the tapes, I don't think. I think I would have won in court. When they asked for the tapes, I said, sure, they're my tapes. I could have fought them. I didn't even have to give them. Just so you understand, though,
they're my tapes.
Didn't delete anything. Nothing was deleted.
He's winning the hoarder vote for sure after this one, though. Like, the principles that he has unconditionally defended thus far throughout this entire process have been just to be a hoarder. Like, he's got my vote, dude. There's a lot of shit that I just don't want to fucking throw out, I feel that. Like, look behind me, okay? It's like, do I need the literal, like, paper fan that a Japanese fan gave to me in Japan that I brought back to the United States of America? No. But it's got value for me, so I'm keeping it, okay?
Deleted.
So that's false. The people who testified.
Number one, the statement is false. much more importantly, when the tapes came, and everybody says this, they weren't deleted. We gave them 100%.
Okay.
And just so you know, I offered them. I said, if you want to look at tapes, you can look at them.
Let's move on to January 6th and the allegations that you tried to subvert the election. And again, I just want to give you a chance to talk about this because voters want to hear about this. The most senior lawyers in your own administration and on your campaign told you that after you'd lost more than 60 legal challenges, that it was over. Why did you ignore them and decide to listen to a new outside group?
Because I didn't respect them.
You'd hired them.
Sure, but that doesn't mean, you hire them. You never met these people. You get a recommendation. They turn out to be rhinos or they turn out to be not so good. In many cases, I didn't respect them. But I did respect others. I respected many others that said the election was rigged. Look, we have many people, and it's my choice. I happen to know that the election was rigged. Okay, I know it because I have there's so much proof of ballot stuffing. It's amazing. Right just a little while ago, in terms of the modern history, where the 51 intelligence agents said very specifically they lied. They all lied. And they said about the laptop that it was Russia disinformation. That was a lie. That had a huge impact on the election. In fact, the pollsters say over 10 points. I didn't need 10 points. I needed 1/10 of a point. If you take a look at the Twitter files with the FBI and Twitter dealing, that had a huge impact on the election. Just those things. But in addition to that, you have ballot stuffing.
Yeah, dude. It's totally... Yeah, no, he's so right on that. If everybody saw Hunter Biden's cock, like, Americans would definitely vote for Donald Trump. Like, they would have turned around and been like, wow, that's it. I'm voting for Donald Trump now. I saw Hunter Biden's cock. Thank God for Twitter files. Like, they showed the truth.
You have a lot of.
When you say you needed 1/10 of a point, you needed 1/10 of a point.
I needed a very small.
To win?
I think somebody said 22,000 votes
to win.
Yeah, if you divide it among the states, it was 22,000.
You coping hard? Me? Why would I be coping, dude? Brother, Brandon is the fucking president. Okay, you understand? You understand? Let me explain something to you. Okay. Let me explain something to you. Joseph Robinette Brandon is not even a man at this point. He's a corpse. He's a fucking carcass. You understand? He's a goddamn carcass. And what did that goddamn carcass do? Huh? What did he do? He won the election by stealing it. That's right. He stole 11,780 votes in Georgia and he fucking won, dude. Dark Brandon fucking won. And then he didn't stop right there. He didn't say, look alive, Jack. I won the election and that's all I'm going to do. No, he took it one step further. He criminally prosecuted all of Trump's greatest loyalists. One by one, he took them apart and sent them to fucking perma-jail. They're all in the American gulags right now, working off their sweaty-ass bodies, okay? Finally, for the first time ever, all of these American HVAC business owners are having to be put to work, slave labor in the fucking gulags for their crimes in January 6th. But that wasn't enough either. What did Dark Brandon do after that? Well, Dark Brandon said, it's not just your supporters, Jack, I'm coming for you too. 90 charges, 4 indictments, 2 state, 2 federal charges. Donald Trump's going to jail. That's right. He criminally is prosecuting his fucking opponent, knowing full well that his opponent was actually supposed to beat him in the elections. But Brandon said, you know what? Banana Republic time. You're going to fucking jail, bitch. And so are your co-conspirators. We're going to hit you with a fucking RICO, as a matter of fact. That's right. Go ahead. Talk your shit. Saying I'm coping. Who's coping, motherfucker? The guy you love. The guy you love endlessly, that you've dedicated your whole life into supporting, is about to go to fucking jail. Because Brandon is going to throw his ass in there. That's it.
Votes, something to that effect. Yeah.
To win the election?
Yeah, if I would have had another 22,000 votes over the whole. But look, they rigged the election. If you look at Pennsylvania,
but Mr. President, you're saying you needed more votes to win the election. Are you acknowledging you didn't win?
If you look at all of the statistics, all of the votes, they say 22,000 votes, over millions and millions of votes, 22,000 votes. So when they do Twitter files, or when they have 51 intelligence agents come out and lie that the laptop from hell was Russia disinformation, and now
this is like, okay, you're basically Hillary Rodham Clinton, okay? You're basically Hillary Rodham fucking Clinton engaging in like incredible amounts of copium at that point. And this is just sad. Okay? This is fucking sad. He's like, oh, I was so close to winning and I lost because like enough people didn't see Hunter Biden's penis. And if enough people had seen Hunter Biden's cock, they literally would have been like, oh yeah, I can't vote for Joe Biden because he probably has a similar cock, right? Which in and of itself is like pure copium and also was tested, right? It's not like Donald Trump didn't bring up the Hunter Biden shit. He did. It actually humanized Joe Biden when he brought it up in an election, made him look like a fucking sociopath, where he literally was like, yeah, well, your son's a fucking, drug addict. Your son's a drug addict. And Biden fucking put his head down and was like, listen, my son has been battling with addiction. It's been a lifelong struggle, but, he's recovering, and I'm very proud of him. And that was a moment for Biden, that humanized him. Wait, did they actually compare cocks? Yeah, they did. Yeah, Brandon was like, look alive, Jack, my son's dick is massive. So is mine. Oh my God, dude. Oh my God, shut the fuck up. Yes, it's pre-recorded. It's pre-recorded. I am predestined to ban you at this very moment. This is a pre-recorded fucking video.
Now they find out it's not, but they knew that at the time. They cheated on the election in that way too.
I just want to be clear, though. Are you saying you needed those votes in order to win? Are you acknowledging you didn't win?
I'm not acknowledging. No, I say I won the election.
Okay. Even though, again, your lawyers told you did not.
No.
Did you? Just let me
Some
understand.
people told me that,
okay.
But many people told me the opposite.
You called some of your outside lawyers. You said they had crazy theories. Why were you listening?
He did. Now some of them are his co-defendants, by the way. But this is true. He did say that about, what's her name? Sidney Powell. He literally said that. He even said that about Michael Pillow. I'm beginning to feel like Trump is actually the fake friend, a big phony, if you will. Because usually, real ones don't fucking, they don't do this kind of shit.
Because they were telling you what you wanted to hear?
You know who I listened to myself? I saw what happened. I watched that election, and I thought the election was over at 10 o'clock in the evening.
You were listening to your instincts.
My instincts are a big part of it. That's been the thing that's gotten me to where I am, my instincts. But I also listen to people. There are many lawyers. I could give you many books. There are books that are written on how the election was rigged. There are numerous books that were written on how the election was rigged.
Just to be clear, were you listening to your lawyer's advice or were you listening to your own instincts?
I was listening to different people, and when I added it all up, the election was rigged. There are books
were you
that
calling
are written.
Shots, though?
In fact, Molly Hemingway wrote a great book.
But were you
called
calling
Rigged.
the shots ultimately?
Excuse me. Molly Hemingway.
She's like trying to sneak in, help for the prosecution here. She's like, were you calling the shots? Would you say you're a shot caller, Mr. President?
Was highly respected and great. She wrote a book, a best-selling book called Rigged.
Were you calling the shots, though, Mr. President, ultimately?
As to whether or not I believed it was rigged, sure.
Okay.
It was my decision, but I listened to some people. Some people said that. Like guys like Bill Barr, he was a stiff, but he wasn't there at the time. But he didn't do his job because he was afraid. You know what he was afraid of? He was afraid of being impeached. He was petrified to be impeached. And how do you not get impeached? Don't do anything.
We've heard so much, Mr. President, about that day, the actual day of January 6th, from other people. Yeah. But quite frankly, we haven't heard from you about your own perceptions of how that day unfolded. Sure. We've heard you talk about the rally. And I'm curious about what happened when you got back to the White House. I know you spent most of the day in the dining room. What were you doing in there? How were you watching it unfold?
So let me just tell you about January 6th. First of all, I had very little to do with January 6th. I was asked to speak. And I was the President of the United States. I'm allowed to do that. But I was asked to speak. Other groups, I think it was women's groups, a lot of people were involved in that. And it was incredible. It was incredible. It was, I think, the largest group I've ever spoken. You never see that. You never see pictures of the group that I was speaking to. I think it was the most people, and I've spoken to some very large groups. Hundreds of thousands of people were there, and it was a beautiful, beautiful sight. But just so you understand, I went and I spoke. And by the way, peacefully and patriotically, and all of that which wasn't reported, but when I spoke, I have had senators go up. They said, I've never heard you speak so moderately. You were very moderate.
What happened when you got back to the White House?
Well, wait, let me just say. So I spoke, and then I went back. I wanted to go down peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol. Secret Service, who I have great respect for, said, sir, it's better if you don't do that. It could be unsafe. Because they didn't mean because of riots, because, it takes one guy with bad intentions, okay? So I didn't have a dispute with them. You had that one person said, I grabbed the man around the neck. Actually, I wish I was so strong to be able to do that. These are all tough guys, smart guys.
So dispute that account.
Dispute it? Who wouldn't dispute it? She's the craziest account I've ever heard. You mean that I was in the Beast, and she said I was in the Beast, and the Secret Service didn't win. So I took a guy who was like a black belt in karate and grabbed his neck and tried to choke him.
What happened?
How ridiculous. Just so you understand, and I have great respect for Secret Service, by the way. They're fantastic. The Secret Service said, sir, it would be better if you did. And I said, I'd love to do it. They said it would be better until we went back to the White House. Just so you understand, I spoke. I made a very nice speech. I wasn't Maxine Waters that calls for people's death and some of these. Take a look at what these other people say.
What happened
it's so
when you
ridiculous.
got to the White House, though? Where did you watch all of the events unfold?
Much more importantly, I offered 2 days before, 2 or 3 days before, 10,000 soldiers, right? And they were going to go because everybody was telling me, I knew it was going to be big in terms of the crowd, because everybody I spoke to said, hey, I'm going down on January 6th. I'm going down. I'm going to listen to your speech, et cetera. And there were other speakers. I wasn't the only speaker. There were many thousand people. To the mayor of Washington, D.C., Nancy Pelosi, both of them, Nancy Pelosi, and to the mayor of Washington. And they turned it down flat. And the police commissioner was very nasty about it to her. And he testified. And here's what happened. The January 6th unselect committee of thugs and horrible people, the unselect committee.
This is the part where it's like, this is the type of shit that I don't think, I don't think like Trump supporters and especially not like Meet the Press watchers are going to appreciate, because it's so boring. Like this is like old bits that need to die if Trump wants to make an impact, but he's still crying. You know what I mean? Bro is a communist. He has millions and spends it on fancy cars and sits on his ass 24/7, making thousands every day. You make me sick, bro. No, bro is a orange. I don't understand why this makes you sick. Like, shouldn't you love that? Like, aren't you a capitalist then? If I'm a communist, right, and you hate that, then shouldn't you be literally a capitalist? In which case, like, what do you think capital accumulation is? Even on your own twisted fucking worldview, like, I'm at least like sitting here, people are giving me money rather than like me sitting on fucking money and making it work by, I don't know, being a landlord or some shit. That's why I always say, like, hey, listen, like, okay, I'm a capitalist then. Go ahead. What changed about anything that I'm arguing on behalf of? Sure. You know, I'm a capitalist. Okay, let's have a conversation about like what I'm doing that's wrong. Not necessarily some like values that you've ascribed to socialism, communism, or capitalism. So I'm twisted just because I'm right wing? I never said that. You know? Splinter Discourse really got riled up today. Yeah, there's been a concerned effort in you know, brigading happening all around the fucking place, but who cares? I didn't say that. I don't know if you're twisted. You might be. You said in your twisted worldview. Do you think that means you're twisted? I'm saying in your worldview, which I believe is distorted, okay, in accordance to mine, in comparison to mine, okay, like opposite world, okay? I'm not saying you're twisted. I'm saying your worldview implies that communism is wrong, which I assume means that you are a capitalist. Ay, ay, ay. He's a MAGA communist. You called him a capitalist? Children in here because you mentioned Sneeko today? Yeah, probably. I thought they would have been banned by now, though, which is crazy. I see this all the time from people. Like, they'll literally be like, Hasan exploits his fucking editors or some shit. And people will be like, that's not true. But even if it was fucking true, like, you know, you're over here arguing on behalf of, like, you know, other people exploit. Like, I can see your Reddit account. You think exploitation is not a problem. So why the fuck are you, like, fake chirping about some perceived hypocrisy about Hasan? So it's not an issue when, like, other companies do it, but it's an issue when Hasan does it. Like, what? So you don't have an issue with it at all. You just don't want to. You just don't want Hasan to do it. You know, it's so stupid. It's like, what are we doing here? Okay. So you don't have an issue with exploitation. You have an issue with me. And it's also stupid because, like, again, it's not even true. I've been in this community for more than 3 years. People have been bringing the editor's takes since my first day here. Yeah, it's just, like, ridiculous. It has never stopped. Anyway.
Destroyed all the evidence.
They say they didn't do that. We did ask them. We did ask the January 6th committee.
Same, almost 3 years. Bro, it was a lie back then, and it's still a lie. That has never stopped. House, car, went to a brothel that was raided for tax evasion, but we're going to fucking lie and say he sex trafficked minors or some shit. It's just like they've only compounded on top of one another, and it's either things that didn't happen or things that are just like completely normal or things that they just made up.
Well, they announced that they destroyed and deleted most of the evidence.
They say some of the evidence is still under review. I want to know what. Wait. I want to know about your perspective, Mr. President.
Listen, I want to. They put out an announcement that they destroyed the evidence, and they destroyed all the stuff having to do with Nancy Pelosi, and they wouldn't let her testify. We said, why isn't she testifying? You know, it was a whole rigged deal. Why isn't she testifying? I offered them 10,000 soldiers. She turned them.
I want to know what
that
you
she's in
did
charge
on
of
that
security.
day. I want to know. You're the president of the United States, though.
She's in charge of
Tell me
security.
how you watched this all unfold. Were you in the dining room watching TV?
I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell people later at an appropriate time. Just so you understand, however.
What did you do when the Capitol was under attack, though?
Let me just tell you.
In the moment that the Capitol was under attack.
Did you see the statements I made in the Oval Office and just outside of the Oval Office?
Absolutely. I was there that day.
Our police are great. We love our police. We love everybody. Go home.
That was
a beautiful statement.
That was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, more than
I don't know.
3 hours after the attack started.
But there were tweets that were put out before that.
I want to know who you called
By the way,
on that day.
Nancy Pelosi. I don't have. Why would I tell you that? Listen, Nancy Pelosi was in charge of security. She turned down 10,000 soldiers. If she didn't turn down the soldiers.
This is my favorite argument because it's like, dog, what are the soldiers there for? Even that part is not true. But even if it was true, they're there to, like, what? Kill your fans that you brought to the White House? I mean, to the fucking Capitol? Like, what do you mean? Like, oh, Nancy Pelosi didn't want the soldiers to be there. Okay, it's like, one, you're the president. Two, these are your fans. Like, what do you want? On the one hand, you keep saying January 6th was not that bad and these are political prisoners. We need to release them. On the other hand, you're like, Nancy Pelosi should have let the fucking military kill them? Like, what? This doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. He's trying to suggest that Antifa did a conspiracy and Nancy was on it. Okay, then why are fucking Trump supporters in jail? If it's just the Antifa, that was thrown in fucking jail. Why is he trying to get him out of jail? Make that make sense. Do you understand? Why is he trying to release his fans from fucking jail? This is the same idiotic fucking argument that doesn't make any sense when Republicans say Democrats are the real Confederacy, they're the real racists, while simultaneously being the fucking people that are like, you know, rocking the stars and bars while they go out to vote. It's so stupid. You have to be a fucking idiot to agree with this stuff. You have to be so stupid. And unfortunately, many are, okay? That's what's so sad.
Soldiers, you wouldn't have had January 6th.
Did you call military or law enforcement?
What?
Did you call military or law enforcement at the moment the Capitol was under attack?
I'm not going to tell you anything. Let me put it this way.
Bro's ignoring all the good right-wing arguments in the chat. Where are the good right-wing arguments in the chat? Please highlight them. I love... The reason why you're not banned is because we were so fucking desperate for like some actual good right-wing arguments lately. And it has not been a thing for a while. I miss it. Now, they were never good arguments, obviously. They were always bad arguments, but at least they were fun.
Behaved so well. I did such a good job. Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 soldiers.
I did such a good job. He's such a kid.
If she didn't do that.
But
and now
Nancy
I understand,
Pelosi doesn't have the authority that
the
you
police
have as
testified
commander-in-chief, though.
Listen to me, Kristen. Listen to me. I understand that the police testified against her, the chief very strongly against her, Capitol Police, great people. They testified against her, and they burned all the evidence. Okay, they burned all the evidence. They destroyed all the evidence about Nancy Pelosi.
What do you say?
Bro's entire... Man, just give me a fucking... Give me an argument. Give me an argument. Give me an argument. You're not. You're just like complaining. You're crying that I called people that believe that Democrats are the real party of fucking racists while simultaneously defending the Confederacy idiots. Yes, if you, cool guy from Missouri, believe in the message of heritage, not hate, and then simultaneously claim that the Democratic Party are still Dixiecrats and they're the real racist ones or whatever the fuck, then you're a dumbass. Like, if you advocate on the one side for the Republican Party and its inception in Abraham Lincoln's policies and then simultaneously defend the Confederacy, you're a fucking moron, okay? I'm sorry. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. I'm sick and tired of dumbass Americans who've been babied their whole fucking lives thinking that just because you came up with an opinion that it must be valuable. It must mean something to everyone around us. So people must listen to your dumbass, inbred, hick, backwards fucking takes and go, actually, there's probably some utility to me hearing this, when in most circumstances, there isn't. Sometimes it's okay to just be a dumbass, inbred hick, for example, and your opinions might just be wrong and incorrect. Now, what you could do is maybe stop being a fucking dumbass, okay? You can't stop being inbred. I don't know if you are or not. But you can't stop those other things. But at least you can, like, hide the fact that you are those things and not be a fucking... bro, I just saw someone that said, fuck Missouri, and I completely agree. Oh, my God, he's not... All right, we're done. We're done. Here, take a second off, okay? Anyway, my point was, you could be inbred, you could be stupid, but you can also be quiet and hide that you are like that. You know what I mean? Like, you could do that, but you don't want to do that. Most people just want to be heard. That's it.
To people who wonder why you as commander-in-chief, you have authorities that Nancy Pelosi doesn't have as commander-in-chief.
No, she has authority over
Why
the
didn't
Capitol.
you send help in that moment, though?
Frankly, just so you understand, I assumed that she took care of it. She turned down...
So when you realized that the National Guard wasn't coming?
Well, you don't realize anything until quite a while. National Guard not coming. I asked it to be there 3 days in advance, and she turned it down.
She says that request was never officially made.
Oh,
just
stop
so
it.
you know.
Let me just tell you.
Let me ask you about pardons,
let me
Mr.
tell you.
President.
The mayor of D.C. gave us a letter saying that she turns it down. Okay, we have it. Nancy Pelosi also was asked, and she turned it down. The police commissioner
I'm talking about
Capitol
the day
Police,
of,
wait a minute.
Yep.
Capitol Police said that he wanted it, and Nancy Pelosi wouldn't accept it. She's responsible for January 6th.
Mr. President.
Nancy Pelosi's responsible.
Mr. President, you're the president, though. You have authorities that no one else has as the commander-in-chief. Do you think you showed leadership on that day?
Yes, absolutely, I did.
Okay.
And I showed calm. Nancy Pelosi is responsible for the security, and she did a terrible job. And by the way, from what I understand, they burned all the evidence.
Okay. She says she never got an official request. They say they didn't, but that's what you're saying.
Really?
Let's talk about.
And her daughter taping her. Her daughter happened to be a documentary.
Let's talk about potential pardons.
A documentary worker just happened to be there taping her at the time.
Let's talk about potential pardons, because a lot of your supporters are wondering about that. Proud Boys leader Enrique Tarrio was sentenced to 22 years in jail. Now that you know what the sentence is, 22 years in jail, will you give him a pardon? Will you give other Proud Boys a pardon?
I don't know him. I never met him. I never heard of him until I started reading this stuff.
Will you pardon him?
But I want to tell you, he and other people have been treated horribly. Antifa killed people, and those guys didn't even get tried in many cases.
There's no
They put these guys in jail for 17, 18, and 22 years. They didn't kill anybody. Some of them never even went into the Capitol. Some of them weren't even in D.C., and they got a 22 or a 17-year sentence. 16, 18,
more than 1,000 people.
22. Wait a minute. Yeah, 1,000 people. How many people, let me ask you this, how many people were charged for destroying Portland? How many people were charged for burning down the police precinct and the courthouse?
Will you pardon him, though? Will you pardon him?
In Minneapolis. I'd certainly look at it. I'd look at that, and I'd look at all the other people that have suffered, the J6 people.
Mr. President, let me ask you one final question, and then let's move on to foreign policy.
That didn't even go into the building have suffered gravely. And you have to say one system of justice, right? You take a look.
But that's not. Bro, he always says one system of justice, and then literally will be like, and in that system of justice, the Republicans need to be pardoned and the Democrats need to be extra punished. It's the same principle behind, like, you can't prosecute me for withholding classified documents, but you should prosecute Joe Biden for having the classified documents that he immediately gave to the archives. Like, he didn't even fucking do anything. Like, he cooperated with the fucking authorities. Okay? Joe Brandon did. And you know who else did? Mike Pence, which Trump conveniently ignores in the situation. It's so sad that basically zero Democratic politicians have said anything about Stop Cop City protesters who are being charged with domestic terrorism right now by also the same state of Georgia under the same RICO charges, mind you. It is fucking unimaginable. It is insane. It is unjust. And yet, of course, there is no support for it. And there will never be any support for it because that's cops. Cops are untouchable. They're the God Kings.
At what's gone on in Portland, they burned down the city. The city is in shambles to this day. The store owners don't even rebuild storefronts anymore. They put up 2x4s.
I want to move on to foreign policy, Mr. President.
But why do you do that? Why do you give me a horrible question and then you don't let me answer it? You're off to a bad start, I'm telling you.
Mr. President, I want to make sure we get to talk about foreign policy as well.
But I don't mind. I have all the time in the world.
You do? Okay.
I have all the time in the world. Why is it that the people, Antifa people, and very bad people that burned down Portland, burned down Minneapolis, burned down so much, New York City, what they did in New York City, and they were barely charged. And yet the people in Washington, in some cases, never even went into the building. They've been persecuted. They've been persecuted.
The people who were charged in January 6th, some of them were charged with sedition. Some of them were charged for violating the Capitol.
But many of these people have been persecuted.
Your supporters?
What they've done to them. And they didn't do this to the people that burned down. You take a look at Portland. It's like a burned down hulk of a city, including the federal courthouse.
Mr. President, if you were reelected, would you pardon yourself?
I could have pardoned myself. Do you know what? I was given an option to pardon myself. I could have pardoned myself when
the best part.
I left. People said, would you like to pardon yourself? I had a couple of attorneys that said, you can do it if you want. I had some people that said it would look bad if you do it, because I think it would look terrible. I said, here's the story. These people are thugs, horrible people, fascists, Marxists, sick people. They've been after me from the day I came down the escalator with Melania, and I did a great job as president.
For the record, the reason why he's not talking about the Kai Cenat situation is because contrary to yet another instance where like a lot of people on subreddits specifically made it to be the worst possible thing that could have ever happened in the state of New York since 9/11, it was a blip on a fucking radar and it went and passed by. Just like whenever people say me saying cracker is the worst offense, the most racist thing on the entire planet, and it's just a blip that goes by. And that's it. That is just, this is another lesson in not thinking that like everything that you're seeing in your immediate orbit is actually the most significant, most prescient political debate that people have to fucking engage in. Okay? Yeah. It's always incredibly silly, incredibly stupid, and oftentimes you are made to believe it that is a serious fucking subject matter that needs to be discussed. And it's not. And most normal people would never consider it. Weren't you banned? Yes, I was. And virtually everyone outside of the LSF circle and Twitch, and even a lot of people in Twitch, thought it was fucking nutty or hilarious. Okay? Higher standards than POTUS. Same with the Kai Cenat situation. Same with like Walgreens are closing down because people are stealing nonstop. Okay? I remember some chatter saying you were the most racist person in the last 100 years. Yes, someone said, unironically, because I remember it's the greatest comment I've ever received, that I would be the most racist man in the 1900s, a time when Hitler was around. Why? Because I'm racist towards white people, and you know, so that's like somehow worse than being racist to black people, apparently, according to that guy. That's not a chatter. That was Keem. No, Keem said I want bad things to happen to black people.
People are acknowledged. Great economy, great jobs, great this, great that. Rebuilt the military, Space Force, everything. I could go on forever. Let me just tell you. I said the last thing I'd ever do is give myself a pardon. I could have given myself a pardon. Don't ask me about what I would do. I could have, the last day, I could have had a pardon done that would have saved me all of these lawyers and all of these fake charges, these Biden indictments. They're all Biden.
They're still saying you'll be on the Nazi side because of your foreign policy takes. I don't know who these they are, but that is pretty funny, especially because I suspect that those people are not USSR supporters in any capacity. So that's relatively odd. You know, anyone that says I'd be on the fucking Nazi side is you know, they deserve to go out the way that Nazis did. Let's be real. They basically said you were the white David Duke.
Biden indictments, political. They indicted, they want to arrest their political opponents. Only third world countries do that, banana republics. So, ready? I never said this to anybody. I was given the option. I could have done a pardon of myself. You know what I said? I have no interest in.
There's been a lot of recent revisionist history on Molotov-Ribbentrop and claimed the USSR and Nazi Germany were allies. Oh, that's a fucking classic trope. Well, good thing that didn't happen. You know what I mean? We all know that USSR shouldered the most significant burdens of killing Nazis, and we're better at killing Nazis overall. So,
even thinking about it. I never even wanted to think about it, and I could have done it. And all of these questions you're asking me about the fake charges, you wouldn't be asking me because it's a very powerful thing for a president. I was told by some people that these are sick lunatics that I'm dealing with. Give yourself a pardon. Your life will be a lot easier. I said I would never give myself a pardon.
Even if you were reelected in this moment?
Well, I think it's very unlikely. What did I do wrong? I didn't do anything wrong. You mean because I challenged an election, they want to put me in jail? I challenged an election, but I challenged a crooked election.
So it's not.
It was a rigged
radar
election.
Right now.
I challenged a rigged election, and now I'm going to win for a third time. I just hope they have better vote counters.
Let's move on to foreign policy, Mr. President. I want to talk about the war in Ukraine. I want to big picture get a sense of how you see this conflict. Do you see the security of Ukraine as critical to the security of the United States?
Okay, let me talk about it without interruption. Right? Ukraine would have never happened if I were president.
He's the GOAT, dude. Ukraine would have never happened if I was president, is what he keeps saying. Same with Afghanistan. I would have pulled out, and it would have been so much better. Okay? Ukraine would have never happened if I was president. It's like, it's always like, luckily he didn't have to be there, but if he were, it would have been solved. Okay?
If this election weren't rigged, Ukraine would have never happened. You would have hundreds of thousands of people, including lots of soldiers, still living. The cities would be flourishing, or at least up. These are cities that can never be rebuilt again, certainly not the way they were. Magnificent buildings, all ripped down like a demolition site. It would have never happened for two reasons. Number one, and most importantly, Putin has a lot of respect for me. And
bro, he's a MAGA communist. What he's saying is Vladimir Putin would have had no interest in Ukraine because I wouldn't have allowed NATO to be involved with Ukraine in a way that would like threaten him. That's why him and the MAGA communists are of one mind. He's pushing Z in that regard. Okay? That's what he's saying. Respect.
He wouldn't have played games, and I told him, don't ever go in, and he would never have gone in. This was only after I left that this happened. Likewise, President Xi.
I do wonder what would have happened if Trump was president during this situation, because like he still supported Ukraine, you know what I mean? And like it's not like the State Department